Planning Board for Thursday, April 24th, 2014. Tonight, we do have 4 public hearings on. The first matter of business would be the approval of the March 17th, 2014 minutes from the Planning Board. Does any of the board members have any corrections or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Chair votes yes. Those matters are approved. So the first matter we have is a rezoning petition for 1421.1 and 1422.1 and 1434.1 Gorham Street. In accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the Lowell Planning Board will hold a public hearing to all interested persons relative to an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinance, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to the Appendix A, therefore entitled zoning. The amendment would establish the suburban mixed-use zoning district to include the parcels of land stated above on Gorham Street. The area proposed to be rezoned presently is within the traditional 2-family zoning district. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, James Flood, 549 Rogers Street, Lowell, Mass., representing Lexington Development Group, LLC, which is a prospective purchaser of the site, and with me tonight is Rob Birch, who's the principal, and also 1400 Motors, LLC, the owner of the property for the sole purpose of the zone change. And with me is both Jack and Andy Costello. The parties have entered into a purchase and sale agreement, and one of the conditions of that purchase and sale agreement was to have this parcel changed because we wanted to keep it all in the same zone. I'm sure the members of the board are very familiar with the site. It's the former 1400 Motors Cadillac dealership, was there for many, many years. The site consists of 4 parcels, 1400 Gorham Street, 1422 Gorham Street, which are the 2 front parcels, 1422.1 and 1434.1. As the plan that I distributed shows, most of the site is zoned SMU, and the 2 back parcels are zoned TTF. Lexington Development's plan for the site is for the construction of a condominium complex consisting of 23 duplex units and 1 standalone unit. I brought with me tonight just a concept plan. It hasn't been finalized, but that shows the layout of the site. Most of them are on the SMU, but there are a few that come over to the TTF portion. That's just conceptual. If this goes through, we'll have to appear before this board for site plan approval and also for a special permit for the whole project. And I also gave you a copy of the plan from the City of Lowell, which is in the second page. You can see that the site does abut the River's Edge development, which is somewhat similar to this. And I spoke with Dennis Connors today, and I think there's already been 29 duplex units constructed there, and I think there's plans for another 27. So our duplex plan kind of goes along with their plan. The plan is based, that we're giving you tonight, is based on SMU zoning. TTF does allow two units on 1 lot, but it'd be very difficult to match this. And we do need the 47 units because of costs involved with this site. Also, there's no other access to the 2 parcels except through the SM2 zone. So I think it's logical that it be extended. They plan to demolish the property. They plan to do some remediation as far as hazardous materials are concerned. So there's a lot of expenses that go into the site. And they've retained Hancock Associates as the engineer for the project. They've hired Gavin and Sullivan as the architects, and I think this board is familiar with both of those companies, and they do nice work. So I'm sure that if this is allowed, the final plan will be with your approval. So it is our opinion that this rezoning makes sense. I think it's beneficial to the city to have the building torn down and a new development put up. It goes along with the river's edge. I think it's going to be a great improvement to the neighborhood, and I would hope that this board would endorse this request to the city council. We're here to answer any questions you might have, but I think the petition speaks for itself, and I think you can see, from locational lots, what we're looking for. So we'll answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you, Attorney Flood. Anybody here tonight want to speak in favor of the rezoning petition?
Good evening. My name is Dennis Connors. I live at 38 Westview Road in Lowell. I'm here tonight representing the Residents First Development Corporation. We're developing the River's Edge subdivision, which is a portion of which is located directly behind the 1400 Motors site. It is our opinion that the rezoning that is before you will enhance the character of the neighborhood that we are developing at River's Edge. It is our hope that the board this board reacts favorably and recommends it to the city council. I look forward to working with the developer as good neighbors and solving our mutual problems out there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak in favor of the rezoning petition? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, anybody want to speak in opposition to rezoning? In opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Any of the board members have any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, if I
Sure.
may.
Mr. Fischetta, if you would, please.
Just in looking at the existing zoning in that area, going to the SMU is certainly allows for increased density, but I think when you're looking at the two parcels that you're looking to rezone, it really is to make it so that this site is workable. The majority of the site is already SMU zone. And it's the extension of the SMU zone to really make this site workable, I think. And to really, what's being proposed, and we understand with the zoning change, that may not necessarily be what comes back before this board. However, it certainly allows for something that would be consistent with the River's Edge and what we would consider the character of the neighborhood at that site. So from that perspective, I think it's going to enhance what can be put on that existing site by making it consistent with the rest of the parcel. So I certainly would be in favor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Fischetta. Mr. Boyle?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple questions.
Sure, absolutely, thank you.
You had mentioned that the only access to the site is off of Gorham Street?
Correct.
Okay, why is not access off of River's Edge Road possible?
There's no right-of-way through.
Does River's Edge Road come up to the edge of your property? Does your property abut River's Edge Road?
Do you want to answer? Let Dennis answer. He's very familiar with it. Why don't you answer that question?
I actually haven't seen the plan.
My question is, does the applicant's property abut River's Edge Road?
No.
No, there's a strip of something in between?
I mean, it abuts a portion of the site, but not the roadway.
But not the public roadway?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. My other question is, I'm really surprised by this. When you see something proposed to be the zoning changed from two-family to suburban mixed use, you don't think that the proposed use is going to be two-family. What's wrong with the traditional two-family zoning?
Well, we would lose a couple of units if we did it. We'd like to make it all conform, one zone, so we can go right straight through.
Okay.
And we do need that number of units to meet our expenses. That was part of the original discussion.
And why if everything you're proposing here is residential, why SMU instead of SMF? The suburban.
That's existing SMU.
Oh, because the
Yeah,
property is
yeah,
existing.
it's existing
Okay.
SMU, yeah.
Okay. Okay. That answers my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, any questions?
I have no questions. I think it makes sense to rezone the whole thing to be consistent with the entire development. I have no problem with that.
Thank you. Rich, any questions?
I too am in favor of the rezoning. I think what we're looking at is a huge asset to that area and really complements what's there. just such a nice community now, so, yeah, I'm in favor.
Be a nice community, it'd be private roads, you know, I think, and it's gonna be a bit of a real eyesore up there, I think. That's.
The only comments I have is, obviously, they've done a good job up there on the river's edge, which is nice. You know, the 1,400 Motors has been sitting there vacant for a long period of time, you know, and I think, you know, when you look at the 1,400 Motors before you get to River's Edge Street, I think the only thing in between there, I know there's a church that's there, but this zoning would be in the back, so I don't see any main opposition reasons. I know we've come a long way with the River's Edge. It's been a little bigger than your plan, so hopefully we're getting it done a little quicker in River's Edge. You know, and hopefully with River's Edge, this will add a nice friendly neighborhood up there to the whole complex between what's behind it and what's coming in off the street, you know, when you're coming in through the Chelmsford area to the gateway through the city. And I have no objection to it as well. Saying that, any board members want to make a motion, or?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the proposed zoning change.
Okay, we got motion in favor, and
I'll
second
second
by
it.
Bob. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposition, hearing none, chair votes yes. Yes? Do
Thank
you have
you
any
very
idea
much.
when this would go for the city council? So
May
if I-
6th.
May 6th, so if anybody's watching, this will be going up before the city council for our recommendation be forward to them. They have a public hearing on that date. Thank you, everyone. Okay.
Totally did not see that coming. I totally did not see that coming. I assume rezoning residential to commercial, they want to be commercial, rather.
There's not enough traffic for commercial. That's what I would guess.
Yeah. Maybe we should be thinking of that area in terms of a neighborhood commercial center, as opposed to, you know, what's basically regional retail.
Okay, moving along, the next matter is a site plan review amendment, 141 Marginal Street. The Lowell Planning Board will hold a public hearing regarding an application by Soho Development LLC for a project located at the above listed address. The applicant proposes to modify a previously approved proposal to construct a 6-story addition to the existing dormitory building for an additional 60 residential units on this parcel of land. The modified plan will result in a change to the previously approved parking and landscaping plans. The proposed project is located in an institutional zone. It requires site plan review with the planning board under section 11.4.2 of the Lowell zoning ordinance. May we hear from the applicant,
Mr.
please?
Chairman, members of the board, James Flood, 549 Roger Street. Excuse me. I'm representing Soho Development LLC. Once again with me tonight is Bernie Paquin, our project engineer, and Jim McClutchy, who is the managing partner of Soho Development LLC. You'll recall that on February 20th, the board approved an application for site plan approval and special permit for parking to allow the construction of a 6-story addition to the dormitory building. The addition was for an additional 60 residential units, and at that time, what we were going to move the cell tower and take down the chimney to accommodate the extension. After the meeting, it was determined that in order to do that, it would take a considerable amount of time, and the building would not be ready for occupancy of the students in time for the 2015 year. According to talking with Joe in the planning department, to move the cell tower could take up to a year. So it was determined that we would come back, we would move the location of the building to save the cell tower and the chimney, and there's an easement area shown on that. and this can be done. So although the size of the building is a little large, it's the same thing. It's only 60 residential units. We're not adding any more beds. As I stated in my narrative that was attached to my application, there are some changes to the amended plan. The underground drainage system that was shown on the prior plan will be abandoned and removed, and 2 new infiltration systems will be installed in place of the ones that would have been under the location of this addition. The new plan shows that the sewer line will be relocated to run around the building, so it won't be under the building. Because of the location, some of the landscaping will also change, but as we indicated at the last meeting, the developer is willing to work with the DPD in coming up with a final plan. In addition, as you probably realize, we will be coming in the future with another site plan for the 1291 Middlesex Street piece for the driveway, which will also incorporate some additional landscape. With the relocation of the building, the parking on site will be further reduced. Subsequent to the February 20th meeting, Jim McClutchy did meet with Lisa DeMayo, the city engineer, and with Eric Eby, the transportation engineer for the city, to discuss the parking situation. And did you get a copy of Eric's email?
April 15th date? Indicated they met on, we got it
Yeah,
indicated on March 20th. They met?
Right. So he has reviewed everything, and he's reviewed the letter from Tom Houle from the university. And based on what he has seen, he feels that if everything is incorporated in the lease regarding parking, I think that's what Joe Boyle wanted the last time, one of the conditions was it would be in writing, that there is sufficient parking to satisfy this development. Also, it states that provisions have been made to any parking displaced during construction will be compensated on the other side in the Riverview parking lot. So there's really, I mean, the building, the number of units is going to be the same, the number of beds is going to be the same. We're relocating for that specific purpose. Bernie Baker can go over the engineering, but we'd ask that you approve this amended site plan with the same conditions. We're willing to work with everybody. And I want to tell you that based on Mr. Frichette's statements during the hearing on the zone change, we have hired a traffic engineer to work with us prior to coming in with the site plan. So we'll have his input, and he can work with Eric before everything's done. So we've done that. So time is of the essence. We're here to answer any questions. Bernie can go over the engineering, but I think you'll see that it's basically the same project. Thank you.
Bernie Paquin with Dana Perkins Engineers. Attorney Flood has really mentioned all of the high points. With regard to the utilities, water and sewer will be relocated around the building, and that can be done very simply. We've been working with the water department as well as the wastewater utility, and they are comfortable with rerouting that sewer and water. There is a loop roadway in the rear. It's an access road for emergency equipment. That is still available, and we've connected that to the new roadway. The underground drainage systems that will be under the new addition have been replaced by 2 new ones. They're shaded in dark blue, one in the rear of the building and a much larger one in the front. Same design storms and same overflow situation with the swale adjacent to the parking lot. And the landscaping actually will be adding a little bit more than what we had shown in the prior plan, and we are still maintaining the arborvitaes that are located adjacent to the residential zone to the rear of the property, side rear of the property. That's really all I have in terms of
utilities and drainage, sewer and water.
I just have one question, if I may. We received a email from Lowell Regional Wastewater Utility. I don't know if you have seen that notice. This was dated to us on April 22nd, and this came from them, and they were requesting a condition be added to the approval process for the proposed site amendment located at 141 Marginal Street. The Lowell Regional Wastewater Utility would like to include the following condition. Considering the inadequate the meter and slope of the public sewer line on Marginal Street near the location of Marginal Street, they are requesting the sewer modifications that satisfactorily address surcharge concerns in the area. These modifications must be implemented before occupancy permit for the proposed building is granted. Modifications may involve relocation of the existing sewer line as shown in the utility plan, including existing alignment. The specific requirements of this solution will be left to the discretion of LRWW, which will collaborate with the developer to find the optimal solutions to address the existing sewer surcharge conditions. I don't know if you're familiar with that. They just want to work with you to address the sewage for that. So I just want to bring that out to make sure that you're aware of it, if you haven't been aware of it. I don't know, sir, if you want to address that. I know that you've acknowledged by the shake of the head that you're familiar with that. Just state your name for the record, please. I appreciate it.
Jim McCletchy, Soho Development. I spoke with Mr. Seward yesterday and today. I've been speaking to him every week, but we've agreed to that. There's just a couple of tweaks that they want to make to the system, and we've agreed to work with them to get them done, and so he's in agreement that we don't want to approve the design as shown on this plan because there may be some changes to it. Okay?
I just want to make sure that the applicant was aware of
No,
the
I'm well aware of
recommendation.
it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your input. Okay. Okay. Does anybody else want to be heard on behalf of the applicant? Anybody else from the applicant want to be heard? No? Okay. Anybody here want to speak in favor of this project? Anybody here in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. Anybody here in opposition on the project? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing none. At this point in time, we'll turn it over to any questions that the board members may have. Mr. Fischett, can I start with you, please?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Flood, and honestly, I don't remember from the original proposal, and I know the parking incorporates Marginal Street, but is there any issues with that building now physically being located in, I know Marginal Street kind of cuts off at one end where it's fenced, but if you follow Marginal Street all the way through, I mean, is there any issue with the building being in there? I don't know if it's even a right-of-way that exists anymore.
I think part of the original approval was that we had to cut off that entrance to Marginal Street, and it stops there. That portion of Marginal Street in between was a private way anyways.
Okay, I just want to make sure,
Yeah,
just
at that
clarify.
point in time, that was private.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that's why, when you originally approved the dorm, one of the conditions was that exit onto Marginal Street on that side would be closed.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to clarify that because, again, it sits right
It's
into
a
that.
private way on that site.
The, couple issues, and you know, one of the responsibilities of this body is to make sure that, especially projects of this scope, are really in the spirit of the various guidance that exists here within the city, and one of it is the master plan. And one of the ultimate responsibilities as a board, under Chapter 7, encourage institutional growth that ensures high quality of life in Lowell's neighborhoods, is one of the bulleted items, encouraging construction of off-campus housing with sufficient parking, thereby reducing the impact of the neighborhood housing market. And I guess, as I look at our conditions from the approval that was issued, condition number 3 was the applicant shall work with the city transportation engineer to conduct a parking count study to review the utilization of spaces on-site and at the Riverview parking lot in South Campus parking garage. Final totals are to be brought back before the board for review and approval. I can appreciate Mr. Eby's letter, but I don't know what he reviewed.
Well, I mean, that's why I said, if you approve this, the same conditions would apply, and that'll give us more time to bring that back to
Okay,
you.
I want to make that very
Yeah,
clear.
oh, there's no, I said that. I mean, that's,
all
we understand that. We
Okay, because
understand
I would not go forward based on the letter that we have. I want to see the data behind what was that, behind that decision.
Well, that's why I'm saying, really, we're relocating the building, but we're going with the same conditions, plus we have retained the services of a traffic engineer. They can address a lot of those
That
issues.
other issue, okay, and then we will get that as part of this approval.
Right,
Okay,
that's what, that was a condition was.
Yep.
And so we still have to meet that same condition.
Okay, that was my biggest concern. Again, I appreciated the letter from Mr. Eby, but that's not what we're looking for.
And on the same point, Mr. Boyle put a condition on the special permit that everything would be incorporated in the lease, and that's,
Right.
we're agreeable to that too. So really, what we're doing is, we're just changing the relocation because of the situation with the cell tower and the chimney.
Because the biggest difference is we are now losing even more parking spaces. So I think
Right.
this condition becomes that much more
Right,
crucial.
absolutely. We understand that.
Okay,
We
all right.
understand that, but I think, as I said, time is kind of the essence here, and we will address those issues, and before any occupancy or anything happens there, we'll satisfy this board. But we want to try to get moving if we could.
I can appreciate that, but again, that's our ultimate
Yeah, well, that's why I said the
responsibility.
same 6 conditions would apply.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Rich, you have anything?
Just regarding the cell tower, is there any chance in the future that could come down? I mean, you get such a nice-looking,
Well, there's a lease there, there's a lease with the cell tower, and it's tough to do.
it's ugly, and it really messes up
I know.
that site.
But it's there, and it's tough to move.
Any other board members have any comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Sure, Mr. Boyle, if you would, please.
Thank you. I think this is great news. I'm very glad to see this back here. I'm very glad to hear that the chimney, that the smokestack is going to be retained instead of torn down. I think that having, I look at the smokestacks in this city as artifacts from its history, and I'm very pleased to find that we're not going to be losing this one. The students who attend UMass Lowell and who live in this dorm, their experience is going to be a little more Lowell because that smokestack is being retained. I was very pleased to see this come in. I just wanted to make sure to put that in there. My other comment is, as you say, you'll be coming back, we expect to come back with a proposal for an additional access onto Middlesex Street related to the rezoning. Once that is done, will that eliminate the need to have an emergency access out into the residential section of Marginal Street?
I don't think the cars use that at all.
No.
I think there's a gate there for people, for them to walk through to get around. But I think when we come back to the board, we'll discuss, I think we had a little discussion before about whether we want the other way to be two-way or not, but that's always closed off.
Yes, well, it's, the way it exists right now, it's built as a driveway, and then there's a gate across it.
Right.
It looks like one of those fire gates that you might see on a dirt road going to the pump house in.
You're right, it is there is a fire gate there.
It's not exactly superb urban design for a dense residential, a dense traditional style residential neighborhood for the street to end at a view of a driveway blocked off by a big metal fire gate. And if having an emergency access there is rendered unnecessary, personally, I would like to see that replaced with some landscaping and close off the driveway entirely and have a more appropriate design for the end of Marginal Street.
Well, we have a driveway around only because that's access for the fire department to get around the building.
Yes, sir. I don't mean the driveway going around the back. I mean the access into the site off of Marginal Street. There's a driveway
To
there.
the residential portion.
Yeah, from the residential portion of Marginal Street, you've got the fire gate, and then it goes into the parking lot. So that could at some point be open to provide emergency access or something. That was probably the idea.
That was the purpose,
Yes.
Yeah, Joe, what happened was when they came in, the fire department was looking at egress to get in there in case of an emergency, instead of coming in behind the car wash, I think it's Palms Car Wash there. And also, the neighbors didn't want the influx of traffic going through that way, so basically we told them it could be at least foot traffic, which they were satisfied with. But the main thing, the fire department wanted to have that emergency access if they needed it at that point in time, if I remember correctly from
That's
the
right,
original set of
that's
plans.
right, because there was one on either side, that was emergency. But with the new driveway, if that gets approved, it's a straight shot in, which is a lot easier for the fire department. But I think, as Mr. Lockhart brought up at the last hearing, let's get some response from the fire department, which we haven't gotten yet. And maybe that's an issue we can address with them, you know? If they agree to have it closed, that's fine. But if they don't want it closed, you know,
So, if the fire department were to agree to having that closed off, because they now have two actual functioning driveways, you just made the representation, that's fine. That would be something that I would like to see you come in with on your site plan, is replacing that access with landscaping. Have that be actually closed off. No even emergency access. And something that looks a little nicer than a fire gate. It's a very, that neighborhood on Marginal Street, neighborhoods like that, I'm sure other members of the board, along with me, have lived in neighborhoods like that. It's a very delicate urban setting, okay? It's, places like that are livable because there's constant negotiation about space, what to see and what not to see. So, and when you have something like a big old rural-looking metal fire gate, it's really up in people's faces, and it really does degrade the quality, the visual quality of the urban experience there. So it would be really nice if that could be replaced with some landscaping.
do you remember how much is between the roadway around the building and that gate?
About 25 feet.
25 feet? You don't have a problem with that, do you?
I just defer to the university. Before, I wouldn't want to make that decision.
All right.
Well, it's not a decision for tonight anyway.
Yeah, we'll discuss that with the university.
Excellent. That's all I had.
Mr. Malovich, any questions, Bob? No. Okay, I just have one or two procedural questions. I know, we have comments from staff saying, you know, do we have to decide whether this is the proposed amendment is substantial material change, but I don't think we have to do that because we cited it as a public hearing
I
for tonight.
published, I notified everybody. We did it as a
So why-
new, like a
so-
new site
right.
plan, so
So-
I don't think you have to do that.
So,
no.
what my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, is, so we in for a whole new subdivision, excuse me, site plan, I meant to say. So you're willing to keep the conditions that we put on the past already? Mm-hmm. Okay, and any other conditions that,
Or you added, yes, you added one tonight, yeah.
so basically when you said, you know, so it's not the, we don't have to do the substantial material change, come back for the public hearing, because we're taking care of that portion of it
Right.
tonight. It's just that you want to keep the same conditions and have us consider any other conditions that you feel are workable to make this project work better. So saying that, the only other question that comes to mind would be, what the wastewater department had indicated in their email was to, you know, check the sewer line. But we also had something in there from the past. I don't know if we have to change the wording on it. I think at the last time when the motion was made was to work with, let me make sure I got it correct here.
I have it here someplace if you,
Yeah, it had something to do with the sewer line, because remember we had a contradictory report on it, because when we came in last time,
Yeah,
Lisa
I
DeMayo
think
had
that-
one comment, but the utility people said it was fine, and we had two different comments. And-
Right.
And I think Lisa was talking about your new entranceway, where the water department was talking about the existing entranceway off Mardu behind the car wash.
we had a comment from
so it was to,
wastewater that said it was fine.
Right.
But Lisa
Had a question on it.
had a question on it, and I
And then we
think,
said, you know, we should receive confirmation approval from the sewer capacity is adequate from the water department.
right,
So, I
so
mean.
that would still, that would
Okay,
still.
so I mean, maybe we might want to incorporate was just basically, you know, is requiring the solution, you know, to develop and define, you know, the solution for the existing sewer surcharge conditions. I mean, that's pretty similar to what we have here to work with the sewer line. But, that's the only thing I think that jumps out at this point. Just double check one thing. Oh. The only other requirement I'm thinking is, I know the email that we got when they talked about, when Mr. McCutcheon sat down with Ms. DeMayo and talked about the UMass Lowell is currently negotiating with development for the existing lease of the dorm, it's part of the parking. And then what Eric's note goes on, it says, assuming the lease is finalized with these terms and conditions. So obviously, the concerns are if that lease is finalized or not, which could be a condition that if it is finalized, that should be incorporated by reference.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think that's what Joe threw in
Right.
the last time
Right.
on the lease, with the
Assume that-
parking
right.
incorporated in the lease.
Okay. All right.
I think that was your condition. So that's not a problem. I mean,
Okay.
that's
what I'm
going to
just- I mean,
happen.
just- Those are just the extra information that we received through department heads since being here last time, so I just wanted to bring those to your attention, so. All right, thank you. I have nothing further. Any of the board members have anything further?
No.
Okay, so at this time, I believe we need the 2 votes again for the site plan and the special permit, same as last time, correct?
I would say so, yes.
Right.
That makes sense.
Last time, we had the 2 votes, and we do have a copy of those in our packet for the minutes that were approved. We have them.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, there is one other issue I'd like to bring up.
Sure.
The email from the wastewater utility, do you, have you been in touch with them? Have you talked about what they want? Do you-
I haven't, but Mr. McClutchy has.
Mr. McClutchy, you've been in touch with them, you're familiar with what they're asking for? And is it a problem? Will you be able to satisfy, do you expect you'll be able to satisfy them?
Oh, definitely, we're already in the process of satisfying it. They want to, sorry. We're working with them to get an easement across the railroad for an outlet pipe to go to the, across to Broadway Street.
So you won't be using the marginal street sewer line at all? You'll be
No,
using-
it'll still be used, it's an outlet, an overflow pipe.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
To satisfy the surcharge.
Got it.
It only surcharges in really heavy rainstorms, it's not the sewerage, it's the rain that affects it, so this will alleviate that problem.
We're talking about, you'll be back before us yet again for yet another site plan when you're ready with the other driveway. Do you expect that you'll have that on those plans?
What, the new
The-
sewer line?
Yeah.
I would not expect so, no. No, but again, we'll still be in the process of working with because the people involved are us, the city, the railroad, and UMass. So they need easements from everybody, and once they get those easements, they already have the funding to do what they need to do.
Okay. Okay, but you won't be showing that on the next set of plans?
It's not on our property.
Okay.
Okay, it's on the city property, actually, and it goes across the city property just to the west of our property. It goes crosses the railroad, goes onto the university property, and crosses Broadway to an interceptor pipe,
Okay,
right?
thank you. Do we need a vote that this is a substantial change?
No, what happened was, due to the fact that they brought it in for public hearing.
Okay.
It's not a modification, because if it was, would have to make the modification and schedule for public hearing. So it's now that we're at the public hearing stage, where the council brought it in as to be looked at as a public hearing. Therefore, what we have to do is vote either way with conditions. So, that part has been satisfied since they advertised for the public hearing.
So this is not a modification of the site plan, this is a new one?
It's an amended site plan. I
It's
think that's what I
amended.
said,
That's
amended
probably
site
the best way
plan.
to put it, yeah. It's
We
amended.
I didn't feel right coming in and saying that it was not a substantial change, because it is. It is a substantial change. So that's why we mailed out to everybody, the same number of people, a lot of postage. Post office department's ready to kill me, but we did do that, so.
So if we were to, the vote we take tonight will be to amend the existing permit with whatever additional conditions we put on.
Correct.
And by doing so, the old conditions will automatically stay on there.
We could, you know, we incorporate them by reference tonight and just say, you know, I make a motion to approve, you know, we'll do the site plan and special permit with the same conditions as previously put on and any other new conditions that
Yeah,
be fit. I think most of the ones
I would incorporate
are pretty accurate, you know, I mean, which is nice that we have the copy of the last minutes, so, and, I mean, approval, so it tells us everything that's there. So, I mean, we had last time, what we did was, we had the 2 votes on this one, and last time, the motion was made by Mr. Lockhart, seconded by Mr. Fischett, to review and approval by the city fire department, DPD to finalize landscaping plans and work with development on those. Applicants shall work with the city transportation engineering for the parking count and to utilize the spaces on the site of the river parking lot, south campus, parking garage. Final total be brought back before the board. The applicant should have the viable lease with the university. The special permit shall terminate in the event that the site is no longer utilized as a dormitory, and the applicant shall receive confirmation for approval sewer capacity, which we got a letter on those for. And that was the site plan that was made by, the motion by Rich and second by Jerry. And then for the special permit, Mr. Boyle made the motion, second by Mr. Fischett. The applicant shall have the lease with the university and also shall work with city transportation engineer to conduct a traffic study, utilize the spaces for parking. So basically, that's what we had at the last meeting with those conditions. So we can either stick with those, add any other additional conditions, or if we feel those are adequate, make the same motions with the same conditions, whatever. So, hearing that, what's the request of the board?
Mr. Chairman? Sure. I'll make a motion to approve the site plan incorporating the previous conditions and adding the condition, which you read into the record from the communication from the wastewater utility. I don't know if I want to, there a need to repeat the language on that, but to incorporate the language of that communication, and also to add the condition that the applicant explore the viability of eliminating the emergency gate located on Marginal Street and replacing that with landscaping. And obviously, that's subject to fire department approval.
right.
I'll second.
Motion's made by Mr. Fischett and seconded by Mr. Boyle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Any opposition? Hearing none, that motion carries for the site plan. Now we need a motion for the, for the special permit.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the special permit, subject to the conditions that we placed on the site plan.
I'll second the motion.
And what we had last time was a viable lease, if we could just put that on as well as, well, and the 2 that we had last time as well. Okay. So we have motion made and second on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, chair votes yes.
Thank you.
Good luck. So, Mr. Flood, what we had was the same 6 conditions from last time with the 2 added.
Right.
And then on the special permit, we had the 2 that were on before, and then Jerry just asked that the other ones on the site plan be incorporated on the special
And
permit.
the one that you put on the fire gate was subject to.
Yeah, to the fire department, 68%. I mean, obviously, the fire department, I think he said to explore the option, it wasn't really a condition, but just to look at it and see what the fire department says. I mean, obviously, the health, safety, and
Well, I think
welfare.
that's important, because I think they're the ones that want it in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, because it was their concern in the past, so, all right. Well, good luck and thank you. I gotta get up. Okay, take your time, no problem.
take that one down? All right, good.
Thank you, sir. I like the color. It sticks out a little better, you know? You know, especially when you're looking at it, you know?
Isn't this the same?
Send it back.
Back next week.
Okay, moving along, our third public hearing tonight is a site plan review and a special permit, 122, 130 Andrew Street and 180 Moore Street. The Lowell Planning Board will hold a public hearing to hear all interested persons relative to an application by C&F Realty Trust, Inc., seeking a site plan review and a special permit approval for the redevelopment located at the above address. The proposal consists of demolishing the existing facility on site and subdividing the property into 6 lots in order to construct 6 two-family structures for a total of 12 dwelling units, with access to the site coming from Moore Street via common driveway. The applicant is seeking special permit and site plan approval under sections 5 and 11 of city zoning ordinance. The parcel in total comprises of approximately 48,071 square feet of land and are located in the traditional two-family zoning district. May we have the applicant, please?
Mr. Chairman, before you begin, I do want to declare that I will be abstaining.
Okay, so Mr. Bishop will be abstaining from this matter, okay, and back to the applicant, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, James Flood, 549 Roger Street, representing C&F Realty Trust. Arthur Faneris is the trustee. With me tonight is our project engineer, Matt Hammer, and project manager would be Dean Jenkins. I just want to point out one thing. I think there's a typographical error in the notice. They refer to section 5.1.7. That should be 5.1.1, note 7. So, but I don't think there's a problem, but I just wanted to point that out. We're before you tonight requesting site plan approval and 3 special permits for a proposed development at 122 to 130 Andrew Street and 180 Moore Street. As we advised the board when we were here on March 3rd, the plan came together as a result of numerous meetings with the neighborhood and also with DPD staff. The proposed development is for the demolition of the prior Sacred Heart School and to subdivide the property into 6 separate lots for the construction of 12 condominium units. If the special permits are approved, we will be preparing an A&R plan to bring in for signature so we can establish these 6 lots. In addition to the site plan approval, the following special permits we're asking for. Special permit under section 5.1.17 is to reduce the required frontage on all lots. The frontage as shown on the plan runs from 65.16 feet to 74.73 feet. The proposed zoning under a TF zone is 80%, but you do have the right to reduce it up to 15 feet under that section. We're also asking for special permit under 5.1.10 to reduce the required lot width on lot 6 only. You'll recall that when we met with the board on March 3rd, we discussed those small little lots that were hanging out, and what we want to do is incorporate that small lot into Lot 6, so we can't meet the 80% requirement throughout the whole lot. We're also asking for special permit under 6.72 for a driveway in excess of 200 feet. Because of the location of the proposed homes bordering on Moore Street and Andrew Street, I think the planning board can make a determination that the driveway will provide safe and reasonable access for fire, police, and emergency vehicles, because they can always access the property from the public ways. Each lot shall have a building containing 2 residential units with two stories of residential space. They have a living room, dining room, and I think 3 bedrooms, and a parking garage on the first floor. All units, with the exception of the units on Lot 3, will have 3 parking spaces, which is 1 more than required. The driveway will be private. It will be maintained by the homeowners trust, and there's no problem with the condition that we provide the city engineer with a copy of the proposed homeowners trust for review. Snow removal will be by the homeowners trust, and there are sufficient snow storage areas as shown on the plan. And as I stated in the narrative, in the event of a excessive snow event, surplus snow will be removed. Trash pickup will be by the city of Lowell, and the lighting will be limited to fixtures designed to illuminate the walkways, entranceways, doorways, and driveways. The landscaping shall be in accordance with a landscape plan which has been submitted, and we agree to work with DPD staff if they want any changes to it. As previously stated, the plan developed based on meetings with the neighborhood and the DPD staff. It's designed to preserve, excuse me, the existing parking on Andrew Street, so that the residents in the neighborhood will have that area to park. I don't think the proposed plan is not a reasonable departure from the character of the neighborhood, and I think it's an improvement for everyone in that neighborhood. So I'm going to turn it over to Matt, who will go over the engineering. We're here to answer any questions, and I don't think it's changed since we really came in and discussed it before.
Good evening. For the record, my name is... for the record, my name is Matt Hammer. I'm going to go over the entire project with you. Existing today is an existing 2.5-story brick building. We have Andrews Street here and Moore Street here.
Excuse me, Mr. Hammer? Are there people from the public who are here for this project? Okay, could you sort of turn the plan a little so it's a little more visible? Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
And I can give her a site plan as well.
Ma'am, if you want to sit up here closer and see the planes, you can. Come in. You want to come inside the railing and sit over here? Okay, all right. So make sure you can see everything properly.
So the lot is 1.1 acres in size, predominantly mostly paved area on most of the property, with some grassed areas in front here and along the outside perimeter around this edge. The plan is to remove the existing building and to replace it with our proposed duplex proposal. We have existing utilities on the neighboring adjacent roadways. And I'd like to note that we're going to be utilizing a portion of the existing entrance on Moore Street for our proposed entrance, and there's an existing entrance here that'll be terminated as well. Around to the rear, there's multifamilies back here, a multifamily next to us here, and single families across the street. This is the proposed project, utilizing an entrance off of Moore Street, which would be 21 feet in width. utilizing a access drive, which will be 20 feet in width. That'll come along here behind the units. This will be a paved access drive with porous pavement shoulders, which is shown in a different color on this rendering, and that's also meant to pick up all the drainage along the roadway itself. Each duplex, which is shown in orange, will be serviced by a entranceway drive here with a parking space garage within each of the units. And as Mr. Flood articulated, all the units will have 2 spots outside of the garage except for this lot 3, which will only have 1. Over here as well, coming in here, there's garages here, and then 2 additional spaces to service each of the 2 units here. All of the units comply with the usable open space, which are shown here. And you can see with the green area on this rendering that there's a substantial amount of green space with the project as well. Each of the duplex will have a patio outside of each one of the duplexes, except for this one here, which will have a deck. And one of the comments from when we spoke with you informally last month was to create a landscape plan and to create more detail on the end of this duplex unit. And we've also changed the architect's plans to actually show the deck that would come off of here, off of this building with an entranceway coming out this door, and then we provided landscaping buffer to help soften the look of that area and give it more protection from the roadway with the deck being so close here. We also made sure that the plantings would not impede visibility coming in and out of the entrance drive as well. There's a full detail of that on this plan and additionally in the plan set that was submitted as well. Each of the units are accessed by a walkway and stairway off of Andrew Street here. And then this duplex has the same walkway coming into the front of the units off of Moore Street. The utilities will be serviced by a water line and a sewer line, which will come in approximately in this location. It'll come into the project and then extend within the utility and access easement as a main behind the project to then provide individual services to each of the units. We're proposing some additional trees to complement the existing trees that are on Andrew Street. Those trees are honey locust trees. There was a concern that the honey locust may have an effect on the sidewalk. We had our landscape architect meet with the city's landscape architect, and they determined that the honey locust trees would suffice as shade trees along the roadway and wouldn't have a negative effect on the sidewalks themselves. So we followed up on that with the city's landscape architect. Within the project itself, we're also proposing to do some ornamental trees, and those are shown here as well, one on each side of each duplex going the entire way down the access drive. There was a comment that from DPD that they didn't want the trees on the lot lines, and we can most certainly have those be offset from the lot lines to address the comment from DPD on that. We have ample snow storage here in this location here, as well as between each of the duplexes as well. We added a little extension off the rear here in order to get a truck turned around, so we added that to the plan. And we've submitted a full drainage report and stormwater report to handle all the drainage. And also, all the units will have roof well, dry wells as well, to handle anything coming off the roof of the units as well. I'd like to note that we're not going to be cutting into the street. All the work's going to be from the sidewalk in. So we have small hatched areas where we'll repair where the existing curb cut was, and also to repair and replace the sidewalk where the existing entrance was to the school parking lot. And I can answer any questions from the board.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else want to speak on behalf of the applicant? Okay, no? All right. Anybody here this evening want to speak in favor of this project?
Good evening, and thank you to the members of the board. My name is Carol McCarthy. I live at 64 Blossom Street. I also co-chair the Sacred Heart Neighborhood Improvement Group. I'm back several months when Mr. Jenkins approached the neighborhood on this plan. He held a big meeting at the school where he had all the neighbors there and the residents that had any concerns over the issue. And the first plan we did. We thought that what they were trying to do was they were trying to cram as much as they could on a postage stamp. And our fear was that we were going to start looking like back Central Street, with the houses so encroached together and parking so limited. But Mr. Jenkins was kind enough to hear the voices of the residents, hear the concerns, and went back to the drawing board. He therefore called another meeting where he came up with this new plan. For some reason, just taking that last duplex there and shifting it, for some reason, took like the congestion off that corner of Andrew Street and Moore Street, because if anyone knows the area, anyone coming up from Lawrence Street, coming down Andrew Street, they forget that Moore Street is there, and they generally go straight through, and they've gone through several times. And now we see that the construction of the convent and the church and the rectory are going on too, so there's going to be an awful lot of just cars up there and people up there, which is good, because right now I think something there is better than what's standing there now. So one of our other concerns really was that, the neighbors love this plan. They love the fact that they have the cars coming in off of Moore Street, that all the parking is in the back of the garages and nothing's in the front. So they really do like this idea. One concern was the fact that this is a school bus stop too, so we're hoping that we could work something out with the city and alleviating that whole stress of the whole area from the school buses stopping there. Because, sometimes the people like to park in that area, and that's where the people would park to pick up their kids. Well, that area is not going to be available to them anymore. So the city of Lowell really needs to look at that area. And I was just speaking to Mr. Jenkins, too. We found out that one of the neighbors told us that over one of the doors of the school, before they demolish it, is a cross. And the cross is there from the old school that burnt down. So that we're hoping that he said he would work with us to see that we find a home for that cross. But other than that, the neighbors love this new plan. They like the idea that they shifted the last house, because I did say to Mr. Jenkins, I was going to fight him on that last house. I said, because we just didn't like the way it was situated, and we're saying that we felt like you were trying to squeeze as much as you could on a small piece of land. But it was just amazing how shifting it just a little bit makes it look a lot nicer, and the houses look really beautiful too, so it really will complement the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else want to speak in favor of the project? Anyone else in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion is closed. Anybody want to speak in opposition? Anybody in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? That portion of the public hearing is closed. Any of the board members have any comments at this time? Mr. Boyle, you want to go first?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You had said that you were using a portion of the existing curb cut on Moore Street for your entrance to the alley? You're using part of it, you said? Yes. So you're reducing it? Or you're shifting it over, or?
We shifted it over.
Okay. Okay, that's why you need to
We
go.
do have to go to the Board of Appeals to go from 15 to 21.
Right. That's the special permit that?
Special permit from the Board of Appeals.
ZBA for, right, okay. I'm trying to figure out exactly what your plan is for the deck on that unit that faces towards Moore Street. On some of the plans we've got, it shows it looks like a side porch that I would guess is 4 by 6, and then on other ones, it shows something labeled deck, which is the same dimensions as the patios on the other properties. What are you proposing?
So what we did was we created a covered exit out of the side of the unit. And then what that'll do is come to an exposed deck that's the same size as the patios.
And at the same grade as you step out, and then I'm picturing this, so it's like one of those little 4x6 porches, covered with the poles on it,
Yep,
and
then
then
that'll-
there's decking that goes out further than
that'll
that.
come out to a deck, yes. It'll come down, you'll step down to a deck just off of ground level, similar to what a patio would be, but it's gonna be a deck.
Interesting, okay.
And that was primarily based on the comments.
Wait, I'm sorry, you said step down? So
Yes.
you'll have the side porch, which is at the level of the floor of the unit, and then a step down to the deck, and then a step down further to the yard? Or is the entire deck at the same level as the side porch?
The side deck, I believe will be at the same elevation when you come out of the door.
Okay.
And then if you want to step down onto the grass afterwards, there'll be 1 or 2 steps coming off of that deck.
Okay, and so that deck is the size of the patios, but there is a 6-foot by 4-foot section which is covered?
Yes, that's
In
correct.
front of the door. It's an interesting solution, okay. Okay. What else I noticed about this is, on this plan you hand out today, it looks like the steps off of that porch face towards Andrew Street, towards the front,
Yes, that's correct.
okay? And on the landscaping plan you presented, you have bushes planted right up, you see what I mean? Right up to the front,
Right up to here.
right. But that's where your steps are.
The steps are going to be over here. Well, the step can come into the planting area if needed. But we haven't figured out that detail off the deck.
Okay.
So right now, we're proposing there to not be a step off the deck, but I would imagine that we would want to step off the deck to get to the yard.
Yes. Okay. I had a couple of concerns with the plan that was included with the packet, and this addresses some of them. It's good that this unit isn't going to be the only one that doesn't have an outdoor space. Everybody else was getting a patio, and these guys were getting a little covered side porch. So I like hearing about the deck. I want to talk a little now about the landscaping plan. The term that you had used before was that it will screen and protect the unit from Moore Street. I don't think that's quite the right way to think about this. I don't think that's the right design principle to bring in here. In our review, in site plan review, I'm sorry, I should have had this open. We are directed to look at the consistency with buildings in the neighborhood. Now, one of the most important things in this area is that Moore Street is the center of the neighborhood. You have the church faces onto the street. All of the buildings in this area, they face onto the street, fronting onto the street. Now, that's something that's very important. That helps define this space. The area that we're talking about is the most important location on the most important street in the Sacred Heart neighborhood. And part of the character of it is that it is, the term we learned in planning school, main streets should be a spine, not an edge. It should be what runs up the middle and what everything fronts on. That helps create the character that's important to the neighborhood. It also influences the experience of drivers driving through the neighborhood. It makes it feel more like they're in someone's neighborhood. They're not just on a street that's there for them to drive fast on, but they're driving through somebody's neighborhood. If there's this sense of crossing, people on their front porches, people might be walking across the street, people might walk from their building out to the sidewalk. It influences the amenity of the site for pedestrians. If it's it seems like a street you're walking down where might be people, where there might be eyes on that street. It's important to have things that front onto there, as opposed to it being a screen. You've got the street, you've got a screen, and then you've got whatever's on the other side of that screen. That sort of tells the people on that street they don't have to think so much about what's there. They can just zip up and down the street. And so I think it's important as you're doing your design, as you're doing your landscape design, to think about that as if you were doing a front yard, not a side yard. And one of the important things in a neighborhood that has, in a pedestrian-oriented neighborhood that has front yards, is a walkway. A walkway, I would like to see a walkway from Moore Street to that porch. Okay? That would give it that feel of being a front, if you understand. If you look at all of the other units, their front entrances, the ones that are next to the street, have a walkway that goes to the street. This one, it's the corner, it fronts on two streets, should have walkways that go to each street.
Dean Jenkins, representing Arthur Fanaris as his contractor, and I guess I'll try to clarify for you what we're trying to do in that corner. I think screening is kind of a strong word to use. It might not be the appropriate word. This is more just like smaller landscaping to kind of, make sure that that area is, visually okay at the turn. But speaking to the decks and the entrances and how they are to be accessed, it is our goal on all units that face the street now. Remember, our garages are now in back, so we've really got a nice streetscape look that really represents the character of the neighborhood on our design. So on that particular unit that we're talking about, we have access from the unit that faces Andrews Street. That will have a covered porch that will access through a straight walk down to the sidewalk. On the other side, we will have the exact same thing. The only thing that's in between is going to be a deck, and frankly, one of the things we may, consider is creating a small farmer's porch for that,
Nice.
That would probably be the way to kind of have it envelope more of the neighborhood character. There are a few farmer's porches on some of the houses in that area, and it's an easy thing to do for us so then we don't have to worry about that transition. We can actually use part of it in a porch with a farmer's porch connected. There'd be a set of stairs that would come off the front entrance of that unit that faces Moore Street. You'd come down off of that front entrance. To your right, coming out of the door would be your porch area, farmer's porch area, but you would step down a couple steps, there'd be a little space, and you'd be on the sidewalk on Moore Street. So
Music to my ears.
that's how it's planned right now. That's the vision that's there, and that's the plan that's in place.
Wonderful. Music to my ears. It sounds like you absolutely get it here. As you're doing the landscaping plan, that's what I said. Think front yard.
Yeah, I think that's basically what everything is here. So, we're actually trying to incorporate, even a more lively plan once we get inside of these, unit lots themselves, these building lots themselves, to create, even more of the usual landscaping that would be associated with something like caliber of a product like this.
So if you could incorporate that farmer's porch, and you could have the steps, and then a walkway out to Moore Street, I'd be thrilled. That would be beautiful.
There's not a lot of space between, but there's enough space that you can see that it's clearly defined that you're coming from a residential unit to a, walkway that would lead to that sidewalk.
Great.
It's there.
Okay. Excellent. I think you've got a very sound plan here. I really like the access from the rear. I think that really improves the plan, preserving all of, and even adding to the on-street parking by taking out that other curb. Very pleased with this plan. Counselor, I had brought this up at the last meeting about the ownership. You were, that time you were talking about creating condex units for each of the buildings, as well as creating a homeowners association among all of them to take care of the road.
Correct.
And that just, it seemed to me that introduced an extra level of complexity to the situation. Why not just create one condominium association instead of creating two separate levels of condominium associations? Normally, it's really none of our business. Ownership has nothing to do with zoning. But where there's this driveway, which is going to be providing the vehicular access, the management of that, making sure it's getting plowed and making sure it's being maintained and whatnot, that does kind of become our business. And so I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, how the maintenance and operations and management of that common drive is going to work.
Well, we're having 6 separate lots, each a separate lot with a condex on it. Then we'll have one master agreement where every member, every owner, it'll be right in the document, every owner on those 6 lots become a member of that homeowners trust, and they have to contribute. And that trust will be responsible for the snow removal. I don't know whether, have we decided on the landscaping yet, or the cutting the lawn? But the major maintenance of, meaning the driveway and the snow removal, it's gonna take care of it, and utilities. But, I mean, that's how we plan it. It's been done.
Okay,
If you want to speak to it, sure.
yes, please, I'd be interested to hear, I'm curious.
There's a reasoning behind it. Number one is because they are separate lots, okay? So really what we have here, when you're looking at this from a purely development look, it's an easement plan, you know? So you've got an easement. You've got the people in Unit 1 on Andrews Street who are going to be passing and repassing over other people's lots, you know? And so basically what we're trying to control is that aspect of it, that maintenance of that facility. But each unit owner will, each building or lot owner of each unit, they have a more two separate responsibilities. So if we just look at the driveway aspect of it and say, okay, we want to maintain the rights of people to pass and repass over it, and because of that, we should share in the overall maintenance of the road as it relates to drainage and you know, snow removal and so forth. But each unit or each lot, and you know, we have a condex here, each unit owner is responsible for their share of maintaining their own lot. It helps to keep the expenses down, you know, the two homeowners, and if you look at it, it's sort of like what happened over on Manchester Street, which was, you know, a pretty good way of putting a homeowners association together, because, you know, you had each unit owner maintaining their own site. It kept the cost of, you know, condominium fees to a minimum, which in effect gives you the ability to, in this case, make sure that you are maintaining, you know, somebody might not mind paying $100 a month for a condominium fee to maintain the roads and maintain you know, the drainage and so forth and the snow removal. But if you're asking a unit owner to, you know, take care of all the landscaping of all the facilities, they might want a more, you know, reduced style of landscaping in their own units. You know, they may not want to contribute, and maybe somebody in another unit wants to spend tons of money on landscaping, and it raises the price of the condominium fees. And frankly, that's usually the biggest obstacle when you're trying to sell these type of units in Lowell, is you want to maintain a reasonable number for your condominium fees. And the way to best do that is to separate them into lots, let each unit owner within that lot dictate what they think they would work for them. If you look at it purely from one perspective, if you took a straight line through the middle of a single a building, and each unit owner takes care of their side of it, you know, maintains the landscaping, cuts the grass and so forth, their only joint fee truly is the insurance of the outside of their building and a little bit of maintenance over the years. And so that keeps that association cost down. And the same holds true when you don't try to add everybody to it. The more you add all kinds of items to your condominium deals, it makes it more expensive, and frankly, that's what creates the blight later on, because the costs are too great, and you may have people who can't pay it.
That happens.
Okay.
That happens more than you think.
Yes, indeed. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Mr. Maravich?
I think that this plan has come where we want it to be from the last meeting. I think it's well done. I agree with the resident in the neighborhood that, you know, by tweaking this thing, it really makes it look good. And I'm interested in the, what the gentleman just said, how although they'll look the same in the beginning, that over time, each house will be a different than its next door neighbor.
Could be,
And
it could
that
be.
creates a neighborhood.
All I can say, you know, it pays to work with the neighborhood. That's how we get to this point today. I mean, Carol's a testament to that. We tried to work with, I think one of the concerns was to get the entrances off Andrew Street, which we did, so there'll be parking out there for the other residents in the area. So, I mean, it really pays to work with them, and I think
It
we
did work.
accomplished it.
I'm all done.
Thank you. Mr. Lockhart?
I just have one two-part question regarding the east side of the development, which is the Agawam Street side. Currently, along that property line, there's a lot of junky fences and
You mean in the back?
on the top of that drawing. Yeah, right there. A lot of old chain link and rotted cedar, it looks like. What's your plan along that line there? Is there gonna be any kind of a barrier created?
Those fences aren't on our property,
Yeah, I
Rich.
know.
Yeah. Did you plan any landscaping along that side?
That's what I,
What I'm looking at, obviously, from a perspective of sales, we're gonna try to do as much as we can to
yeah, all right.
Screen it.
It's all on a butter's property. That's all I have, Mr.
Okay. I just have a couple of questions. Before I do that, Suarez, we received your comments. Do you have anything else you want to add from staff? Anything else you want to add besides what you gave us on your comments? Okay.
No.
Thank you. Obviously, the landscaping plan would be something I have no problem with referring that, to work with the plan development on that. And I think my question was answered on who was going to maintain the driveway. In regards to the homeowners trust, I know staff indicated that have it run by the city engineer for review. Usually my comments are always have it run by the law department. Those are the ones who, what we've done in the past, I think they've approved several of them, and they probably have a better recourse to looking at the legal document than the city engineer. If not, we can refer it to both of them.
Either party, I mean, how about it, would Eric review it?
Yeah, he used to be for staff. I mean, we'll send it to either or.
He's done it in the past, I think.
Yeah. No, Eric did it when he was with the solicitor's office?
Yeah, we can definitely get from, input from both of them. The reason why engineers is they have proposed a rather unique stormwater treatment along the driveway. So that's why, excluding the engineering department will not be a good idea. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, refer it to both. I mean, I'm sure you
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
no
no
problem with
problem,
either one
no
of them. That way, the engineer takes a look at it one way, the law department takes a look
Sure.
at it the other way. And
Yeah.
obviously, it's best for the applicant to make sure if they missed anything, they bring it back and
Agreed.
it covers everybody.
Glad to get any comments that anybody has, but
So obviously, that the road going in is gonna be maintained for the plowing, whatever, the group. I know it's nice to have the parking in the back, but I'm sure some people are still gonna park on Andrew Street because it's quicker to park on the street and walk in, and nothing we can do on that. But at least you have the car
That's right,
situation
yeah.
in the back, which meets the requirements. I did like the fact of Ms. McCarthy giving us some input, and I was wondering, Dean, do you have any suggestions on what she wants to do with the cross? If you can just come to the mic for a second. I mean, obviously, we try to do those like when we've done the Sacred Heart schools, we've done the other ones, we try to do it in the walk-in way, but I don't know where you'd put it on a site like this.
Look, there's also a monument there too, the plaque that we have to, we're trying to talk about returning to the owner or the owner's family. But again, we're gonna put those things aside. We're not gonna demolish them and throw them in a heap. We're gonna put them aside. We actually had spoken to some of the residents originally about trying to keep some of the brick for walkways and so forth, but it's not the right kind of brick. You can't really do it. It's not, it's not created the right way to be able to sustain long-term. So, anything we can do to keep any of the artifacts from the building, we have no problem with. We want to set them aside, and in the interim, we'll find the proper home for them, where they belong.
Maybe even across the street where the church was, if they could find it somewhere where they're doing the development across the street. See what we've done it?
Somewhere in
Yeah.
that home.
What we've done in the past, like, up on Merrimack Street, remember we had it coming in the front door, and we put the plaque right there? I think it was one of Jerry's suggestions in the past, in that way, but it's in sight. I mean, to put it on the landscape and coming in the driveway, you don't know how long it's gonna last there, I hate to say. So, I mean, if it didn't fit on site, maybe even across the street where they're doing the development, maybe they would find a place to put it inside there.
They may, or maybe we can just go to Holy Name or whatever, Holy Family, I mean, and see what they want to do.
Yeah, right.
But
I mean, 'cause, then, obviously, you don't want to destroy it. if it's there.
we've actually delayed the demolition of the building a little bit to allow the firefighters to go in and do, I don't know if any of the neighbors have noticed, but there's been firefighters in and out doing maneuvers and so forth over the last month or so. So, again, whatever it takes to
I know I was up
to
there
get
yesterday,
it
and I know, like,
done, it's
when they
fine.
come in before for the preliminary, talking about demolishing it soon, so I was surprised that
Yeah,
part of it wasn't ripped down already,
Yeah.
but.
yeah. So we've been waiting for, kind of get closer to the meetings.
The only other thing, so what would you do for the trash pickup up there? Would it go on the curbside?
It's gonna go regular city, because it's like
Put it
any
on the
other
curb?
A&R, put it on the curb out front, and it should be taken like anybody else's.
And
And
we
I think one of the other things to mention, and I believe it's there, but there's no parking from, there's a no parking sign already that exists from somewhere around middle of the second unit here, Matt, off of Moore Street. No, come off of Moore, onto Andrews, sorry, but the
The one
second
Andrews
building,
going
right
down?
there.
Yeah. Well,
So,
would that be from the old curb cut forward?
that's actually, no, that's, the old curb cut is behind that.
Okay.
Between number three,
Number
unit
three,
number,
okay.
building number 3. But we want to, I think it's wise, though, to keep a no parking sign out front there, those particular units, because
The school
you're
bus
close
is
to
still
the,
coming
you're
in
close to the
every-
corners.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's close to the corners, and the hydrants are actually across the street, but it's still better to leave a no parking sign. I think there it gives a better sight, vision for the people who are gonna live there. The first unit people might not like it, but they have, there are 3 off-street parking units with that unit, so,
They don't like it, they'll park further down the street and walk out.
correct.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further. So, Mr. Flood, correct me if I'm wrong, so we need, you're looking for the 3 special permits and site plan approval, right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
So what I'd like to do is, take them one at a time, probably makes the most sense to me. We can start with the site plan if need be, and then do the special permits, if that's okay with the body of the board? Okay, so what would the board's, proposed recommendation would be in regards for the site plan approval?
Excuse me. Chairman, I'll make a motion for approval of the site plan.
Okay.
I'm not sure of conditions, though, I didn't know.
The homeowners association be approved by the city engineer and the law department? Okay, and staff to work with landscaping?
Staff to work with DPD and landscaping.
It's my other sign, my other board. Yeah, the first here.
Incorporating,
Really?
what Joe was talking about on that
Where's he?
property unit, that corner unit.
Oh, there is, okay.
I feel that my concerns there, we're talking about the corner unit, those could be adequately addressed with a condition to have a landscaping plan approved by the DPD.
What Mr. Lockhart was saying is he excused because he has a voice tonight. He made a motion for the site plan, and with the conditions from, have the applicant work with planning staff on the landscaping, and also from the condition to have the engineering department and the law department look over the homeowner's trust document. He also mentioned the fact that Mr. Boyle was talking about earlier was on that corner lot with the farmer's porch and the access in the street. And Mr. Boyle said hopefully they'll, but the concerns that after those concerns were raised and what Mr. Jenkins indicated, he felt comfortable that could work out with the landscaping plan because they're basically based on the same page. So the special permit would be for approval with a DPD to work for the landscaping and the law department to review, to work with the city engineer and the law department. Correct, Rich, for those two? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, the site plan with two conditions. Anyone want to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Mr. Malovich, so we have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Any opposition? We hear none, and one abstention from Mr. Fischett. Okay, so moving along, we do need a recommendation on the special permit for 5.17, which is to reduce the frontage, which we can do up to the 80%, which was requested by the applicant.
Tom, it's 5.1.1,
Point one,
paragraph 7.
Okay, gotcha. So that was the reduction of the frontage. So that's a special permit on that matter. I'll make a motion that we approve that.
I'll second.
Motion made by myself and second by Mr. Boyle. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, that motion carries, and with one abstention. The next special permit we have is for 5110 for the lot width on, was it lot number 6?
Number 6 only, right?
Right, that's the one that's.
We added that piece in the back, so we
Yeah,
couldn't have the 80%.
I think that's what came in before, right.
Yep.
By adding that piece in the back, it doesn't meet the total
80%,
lot width.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Lockhart. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, that motion carries with one abstention. And the last special permit would be 6.72 for the length of the driveway exceeding 200 feet. I think if I look at the plan, the main reason for the lift of the driveway extension is so fire apparatus can get to the site. Obviously, the fire department and emergency vehicles can let their from a public way being Andrews Street and Moore Street. And for those reasons, I'd make a motion to approve the excess of 200-foot driveway.
I'll second it.
That's matter's been motioned and seconded by Mr. Lockhart. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and we have any opposition? Hearing none, so we have 4 in favor and 1 abstention, which carries the 3 special permit. So I believe the only thing you have left is you got back to the
We're back Monday night on the curb cut.
Okay, and that'll be for the curb cut coming in off Moore
Moore
Street?
Street, yeah.
Okay.
We're going from 15 to 21.
Okay,
That's to accommodate the 18-foot driveway.
okay,
That's your zoning board special permit?
yeah.
I was looking in the zoning, and it does say that a 24-foot curb cut is allowed by right if the entire parking facility is paved with pervious surface. You know, you could save yourself a trip to the zoning board.
That's a lot more maintenance, a lot more maintenance. We talked about that. Thank you.
What other matter while we're here? Mr. Boyle, you want to mention something about this is going before the zoning board of
Oh,
appeals?
yes,
I'm sorry.
what-
Mr. Boyle had a comment in regards to the zoning board of appeal application for Monday night?
Yes, while we're on this, Mr. Chairman, could we take this out of order, and we are to make a recommendation on the
Curb cut.
this special permit, this curb cut special permit?
Sure.
Thank you. I make a motion that we recommend approval to the zoning board of appeals for the curb cut special permit on the grounds that issuing it will greatly improve the availability of off-street parking for the neighborhood.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. So you have a motion as well for the recommendations to the zoning board of appeals. I'm sure you have no problem with that, Mr. Flood?
The paving changed, but talked about it, but
You're all set now.
All right, good luck, and thank you very much.
thank you.
Good luck with your project, we wish you well. You're welcome.
Thanks, Carol. A little break, I'll get some water.
Okay, good.
Okay, moving along with the agenda, the next matter for public hearing is for special permit. 100 Burnside Street. The Lowell Planning Board will hold a public hearing to all interested persons relative to an application by Natalie Greenbalt Revocational Trust seeking special permit approval for redevelopment located at the above address. The proposal consists of demolishing and reconstructing a garage for the dwelling unit located at 99 Sale Street, which would not meet setback requirement. 99 Sale Street lies adjacent to the rear of the subject property. The garage currently crosses over the property line between 100 Burnside and 99 Sale Street. Additionally, the applicant is seeking approval to allow for the construction of a new single-family dwelling on the subject property without meeting lot width requirements. The proposed project is located in a traditional, single-family zoning district that requires special permit approval from the planning board under section 5.1.10 of the Lowell zoning ordinance. May we have the applicant, please? Sure. Thank you, Counselor.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, James Flood, 549 Roger Street, Lowell, Mass., representing Natalie Greenblatt, trustee of the Natalie Greenblatt Realty Trust, who is the owner of the premises at 100 Burnside Street and 99 Sale Street. Also, Bun and Mary LLC, who is a prospective purchaser. Mrs. Greenblatt's here tonight, along with her personal attorney, Philip Nyman. Mrs. Greenblatt is desirous of selling the property at 100 Burnside Street to allow Bun and Mary LLC to construct a new single-family dwelling. As part of the purchase, the buyer is going to, on behalf of Mrs. Greenblatt, relocate the existing garage at 99 Sale Street, which now encroaches on Burnside Street, onto the 99 Sale Street property. And in order to accomplish all of these things, we must obtain variances from the Board of Appeal. A little bit of history. Mrs. Greenblatt acquired both parcels, the Sale Street parcel and the Burnside Street parcel, with her late husband, Alan, back in 1995. The property was purchased from two separate owners and came in by way of two separate deeds. Mr. Greenblatt passed away in 1994, and Mrs. Greenblatt still resides at 99 Sale Street. Excuse me, I'm catching a little bit rich this guy. I was about to file a request for variance with the Board of Appeals when I was advised that I would first have to obtain a special permit from the Planning Board to vary the required width under Section 5.1.10 for the Burnside Street parcel. This is a result of the recent zoning change that was, I think it was last June, that was approved. So that's the request that's before you tonight. We really want to get to the Board of Appeals. I can understand what you tried to accomplish by passing that zone change because of what happened out on Andover Street, but I don't think it was the intention to apply to a lot that's been in existence since 1915. This lot was originally established in 1915 by a plan that was recorded in Plan Book 33, Plan 7. Lot hasn't changed since the original filing of the plan, and there's no way that we can satisfy the requirements of 5.1.10 because there's no additional land. In order to, the required frontage in this area is 70 feet, so the 80% would be 56. All we have is 50. So I've submitted to you a package tonight which includes the following. Is a plan that shows proposed development on Burnside Street and the moving of the garage on Sale Street with the requested elevations on it. I've also included a copy of the City of Lowell Assessors Book of 2008 regarding the properties on Burnside Street. You will see that it lists all the properties, and it also has a section as to building values, and I've noted that. I've also given you a copy of the plan from the City of Lowell Assessors website that shows the building presently at 110 Burnside Street, which abuts our lot, and I've also included a copy of a variance issued by the City of Lowell Board of Appeals in 2008, allowing the construction of the home on 110 Burnside Street. As you can see from the assessor's book, most of the lots on Burnside Street, well, there are various sizes. They start at 1,614 square feet at the beginning, and they go to 8,740 square feet at the top. But a lot of them are 4, 5, 7,000 square feet. Also, if you look at the building value, you'll see in 2008, the building at 110 Burnside Street had no value because there was no building there, and that the building at 100, which we're here with tonight, had a value of $200. That's because a portion of the garage was on it, on that piece. So that's where the 200 value came about. Like I said, in 2008, the City of Lowell Board of Appeals granted variances to allow the construction of a single-family home at 100 Burnside Street. at 110 Burnside Street. 100 Burnside Street is the only lot remaining on that street that doesn't have a structure on it. And that's why we're here tonight. We want to be able to present this matter to the Board of Appeals, let them, hear our argument, let them make the determination. But without this special permit, we can't get there. As to the comments from staff, all the requested changes can be made and can be handled at the Board of Appeals, and we're willing to work with the Board of Appeals, but we really want to get an opportunity to appear there. And I don't think the passage of that section was meant to apply to a lot that has been in existence for so many years. So I'm asking for the special permit to allow us to proceed further with the Board of Appeals. Thank you.
So, Mr. Flood, I just want to, so under 5.1.10, I'm just saying, so what the relief you're looking for from us before you get the ZBA is that, I'm just going to quote here that you have in your narrative, each lot shall have a width of not less than 80% of the required frontage. The
Right.
required frontage in the TSF zone is 70 feet.
Yep,
And under the provision, the lot should have 56 feet.
for 80%, yeah.
Right.
We
As
cannot meet
previously,
that.
the lot was established back in 1915.
Yep.
It only provided 50 feet of frontage. So basically, so you have 50 foot of frontage, and what you should have is 56?
56 would be 80%. It should be 70, but that's what we'd go to the Board of Appeals for a variance. I'd like an opportunity to do that,
The difference
because it's
from
the
what you're
only
looking-
remaining lot on the street.
Under 5.1, what you're saying is you're short 6 feet.
Now, you can vary that under that section by
Okay,
special
I'm just
permit.
making sure that I understood correctly. Okay, thank you. Does anybody here want to speak in favor of this project?
Mr. Linehan, with your permission, my name's Phil Nyman, and this is my client, Mrs. Greenblatt. And Mrs. Greenblatt would just like to address the board as to what this is. And this is her house. She's lived there for over 50 years.
Over 60.
And the deeds that Mr. Flood was talking about came through family and in-laws. She's a widow, she lives by herself, and she's looking for an opportunity to be able to have a little bit more financial comfort by selling the back lot that she will not be using. And I think Mr. Flood laid it out very clearly. It's the only house, it's the only lot on the street, on Sale Street, that doesn't have a structure on it. And she would like to just address this board for 2 minutes, if that's okay with you.
She can take her time, it's fine with me. I'm sure with the board members as well. Yeah, you can pull it down.
Thank
Is that
you.
okay?
I guess.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. And I just wanted to say that the neighbors or abutters who will have a direct impact of the redevelopment of 100 Burnside Street, who live on Burnside Street directly across the street from the 100 Burnside Street lot, do not oppose this proposal. The proposal requires a special permit, which is the same special permit approved to develop 110 Burnside Street in 2008, where a single-family house now exists on the same exact size lot. Additionally, the very same people here who now live at 110 Burnside Street and the very same people who developed 110 Burnside Street, who live at 105 Sale Street, are now in opposition to the very same project that was approved for them to build a single-family home adjacent to the lot of this proposal. The people who oppose this application had their very same application approved in full support of the board. A retaining wall will support the lot just exactly as it does on the other lots on Burnside and Sale Street Hill. A plot plan, a building plan can be modified to address the concerns of the neighbors, just as it did for 110 Burnside Street. mainly driveway setbacks, so that all can agree and will show a sense of value and respect. Safety concerns from the neighbors were all previously addressed and found that it was not a problem enough to stop 110 Burnside Street from previously being approved and developed. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to speak in favor of this project? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anybody want to speak in opposition? Just come to the microphone, please. State your name and address for the record and your concerns.
James Aylward, 110 Burnside Street. I, as well as other neighbors and abutters to 100 Burnside Street.
Give your name, please.
James Aylward.
Okay, thank you.
I am opposed to the plot, plan, and development of a structure at 100 Burnside Street due to significant safety concerns. For those of you who are not familiar with Burnside Street has a significant amount of traffic and a steep hill which makes this street all the more treacherous. The location of the property in question resides just beyond the crest of the hill, making it impossible for someone standing on the property to see the vehicles traveling over the hill until the vehicle has already begun its descent down the hill. The fact that cars, public school buses, city construction vehicles travel up and down this road with a great deal of speed in conjunction with the numerous children who walk, ride their bikes, and skateboards up and down the street on a regular basis, it is my fear, as well as others, that if any structure were to be built on this property, that the probability of an accident involving a child or vehicle increases exponentially and will inevitably occur due to the visibility issues that would be created. In addition to these concerns, I am opposed to a structure being developed on this property due to the fact that it is impossible to build on this lot without disrupting the integrity of my property and the other adjacent property at 100 Burnside Street. Due to the slope and grade of land, I, as well as others, are concerned about the erosion of land that would take place if a structure was erected on this property. Currently, there is a 3 to 4 foot discrepancy in many places between my lot and 100 Burnside Street, and at least an 8 to 10 foot discrepancy in some places between 100 Burnside Street and the other adjacent property. I have also been informed that there is a concrete pool that was dismantled and buried on this lot many years ago. If this information is correct and the pool has to be removed, there is no way to do so without the possibility of damaging my property and foundation or the other adjacent property. We kindly request that the entire planning board conduct a site visit to see the lot in question in order to address our concerns. I also have with me signatures of roughly 50 neighbors that are opposed to the construction of a property, opposed to a construction of a structure on this property due to safety reasons. And I can give those to you.
You can spend that, sure. I mean, just for the record, the other house to the right with the...
If you're looking at 100 Burnside Street, I'm the one to the right.
Semi Drive?
Yes, correct.
And the white big PVC fence?
Yes.
See, we go out and look at these before the meeting, so we don't have to go out after the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Sure, just submit those notices to us, yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I'm going to pass these on to the board members, okay? Thank you. Okay. Okay, anybody else want to speak? In opposition? Just come to the microphone, please. Thank you. Just your name and address for record, please. Thank you.
That's Miles Gatton, 98 Burnside Street. We sit to the north
98
side.
Burnside? Okay, thank you.
We sit to the north side of the 100 Burnside Street property. What I'm concerned
I'm sorry,
about
your
is
house is where to the, okay, I got it. Okay, okay. Thank you.
left hand if you're looking at it from
Yep,
the street,
yep,
oriented
yep,
from the street.
I got it.
What I'm concerned about is, I guess, Nat addressed in harmony with the neighbors, creating a retaining wall. As you know about retaining walls, either it's full vertical, and it's just a massive structure, if you will. In this instance, it has to go up at least 10 feet. Property, front yard, the west side is about 7 feet differential gradient, and the rear side, the east side, is about 10 feet differential in gradient. The other thing is, I don't understand from the plot plan I work in the industry, and just plot plans are basic. I don't understand, is this a two-story, 2.5-story house that is going there, proposed right now? It doesn't say anything on the information I got from the planning board. So I guess there's a 32-foot high limitation in this traditional single-family zone here, which would put it up 40-something feet into the air, the roof line, towering above the property, which creates differences in appearance, light, all that. Let's see. Disruption of fills, I guess, during the process when the excavation is going on, temporary erosion control would obviously be a concern, as well as the permanent conditions to control water runoff. I know the Massachusetts doesn't have a stormwater management plan for single-family properties, but we would ask that there would be something to mitigate water downflow. Wintertime, the frozen ground conditions exacerbate the problem of living on a hill and water draining down, eroding the hill. A few other things. The current power pole, they changed in 2011. National Grid or Verizon's pole there, it has a guy wire that extends back 13 feet. It's an end pole. It's the last on the line there. So where the guy wire sits now, it's right in the middle of the proposed driveway. I guess that's all I have for the moment.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Anyone else like to speak in opposition? If just come to the podium, state your name and address, please, sir. Thank you.
My name is Richard Guthrie. I live at 105 Sale Street, Lowell, Mass. I am in opposition of a structure being built on the site. And the reason for that is safety. If you go up and down Burnside, you'll see that there are no sidewalks on Burnside Street. Every morning, every school morning, children walk up that hill. And every day between 6:30 and 7 a.m., buses travel over that hill. And it's not about if something's going to happen, it's when something's going to happen. That hill is very treacherous. That's the main concern that I have about the children walking up that hill. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to be heard? Anybody else want to speak? Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, hearing from nobody else, at this point, I'll turn over to any board members have any questions, concerns?
Mr. Chairman, if I
Mr.
may.
Fischett, sure, we'll go with that with you if you don't mind, thank you.
Just looking at the information you have before us here, and I think it was helpful having the assessors' information. Is 15 homes, lots on Burnside that are with homes on it that are 5,000 square feet or less. So certainly when we're looking at neighborhood character for the size of the lot, it certainly is not out of character with what's there. Looking at the approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals for 110 Burnside, I have to agree in the sense, even under our, I think our obligation under our approval here is, in which we've done and we've used for other projects that have come before us on Lakeview Ave and
Right.
Harvard Street, is that one of the advantages of having the applicant have to come before us is the fact that, one of the gentlemen's mentioned, and it's true, a plot plan doesn't tell you elevations, it doesn't tell you what the house is gonna look like, how it's gonna sit on the lot, how high it's going to be, the materials that are gonna be used in relation to the character of the neighborhood. And I think that anything coming out of this board would at least require that we'd have to see that. I think that's important.
See what?
What the actual plans of the home, the elevations, the architectural plans of what's going to sit there. And it's the whole idea of on a smaller lot, making sure that in fact what gets built there is, and I understand you're going to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And I know they had that as a condition of the last approval, but my concern is with our approval on this is that's something that needs to be incorporated, I believe, in our approval.
Well, that's, I can understand that, but I don't have that now because in the comments from staff, there was a discussion of moving the garage to the back of the house.
Sure.
So if that's what staff wants, we'd have to have a new plan prepared.
Right.
And we can do that. I mean, that's not a problem, because I said we agree to all of the conditions.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but I really don't think that zoning ordinance should pertain to something that's been in existence for so long. And I'll tell you that the Board of Appeals is looking at these things really closely, and they're looking at elevations and looking at everything. But if that's what you would like, we can design a new building, because I think that's what staff wanted, and bring it back at another meeting.
Right.
I have no problem with that.
And I think what would be helpful is and I was out to the site, and I'm very familiar with 110 Burnside. I've parked in front of the site several times. I think the sight line is not much different from the houses across the street in 110 Burnside, but I think it would, what I'd like to just see is a comment from Eric Eby regarding the sight lines on there. I truthfully, I believe that's not going to be an issue. But certainly, I can respect the concerns of the residents regarding the safety of the site. And if anything, it would help to perhaps offer some suggestions regarding the configuration of the driveway on the site and where it would be
We
best
can do
to
that.
come out.
We can do that. I
I
didn't
think that
know
makes sense.
you were going to go into that much detail, because I thought that that's something that we'd do with the Board of Appeals. But if that's what this board wants, I'd be glad to do it.
Yeah, I just think, I think it's incumbent upon, and I can appreciate what you say, I don't think that was the intent originally. It was,
No,
it was
I don't think
taking,
it-
the original lots that had 70 feet of frontage,
Yeah.
that now somebody wanted to reduce, and you know the story behind all of that.
Absolutely, I do.
But I think it's incumbent upon this board to take, at this point, because it does apply to that section of the zoning ordinance, I think it's incumbent upon us to
I have no
incorporate that.
problem, I have no problem doing that. If that's the board's wish, if you want to put it over for a month, that's fine.
Okay.
Give us time to put that together, but
Okay.
it's whatever you want. I know Mr. Lockhart.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Fischett. Mr. Lockhart?
Yeah, what Jerry has stated reflects my thinking about what we're looking at here. You can't really see how it works. You can't see the driveway or the elevations or an elevation of the house. I think if we had all that,
We can do that.
that's what we need to really look at this.
No problem.
Yeah, that's all.
Mr. Malovich?
Yeah, there's one fundamental problem here. According to the zoning code, when two parcels are owned
I appreciate that.
in a zoning district that requires more than the existing house structure, they are merged.
That's true, and the same thing happened next door. So the petition that would be brought to the Board of Appeals would be to maintain the existing house at 99 Sale Street without the required frontage and square footage, and then another one. But
Doesn't
was
that
done-
require a subdivision of that parcel,
No,
and
it's just-
that's impossible?
It's the same thing that was
It
done
won't
next
meet
door.
zoning?
Huh?
It will not meet zoning, current zoning.
I know that, that's why we're asking for variances. And that's why it'd be put in the hands of the Board of Appeals.
But how do you get past the zoning code that says those two parcels are merged?
Well,
Is there an out to that somewhere?
is there a what?
An out to that requirement?
Well, that has been done in the city on numerous occasions, and the same thing was done right next door. If you read the variance, they brought an action to maintain the existing property on Sale Street without the required square footage, and then develop the one in the back. They were contiguous, just like this one. It's the exact same thing.
Well, I just don't agree.
Well, I'm just asking for an opportunity to do the same thing they did next door.
I don't know when the Board of Appeals got the right to subdivide.
They did it. They did it.
Well, it may not be correct.
No, not yet, nope. We'll get to you in a minute.
I have a fundamental problem with this thing, so I'm not sure I can vote on it at this point.
Mr. Boyle?
I guess I found myself in the familiar position of being the voice of dissent. I think that these issues about can a house be put in safely, can the driveway be put in safely, where should the garage go? I think this is the zoning board of appeals purview. I think this is what they do for a living. Oh, we have a lot, and it's a little bit, and it's in an established neighborhood, and it's a little bit too small in this way, and this way, and this way. Can you please give us a variance so that we can put a house on this little lot? That's really what they do for a living. It's also not what the project is in front of us for. Project is in front of us not to approve anything that would allow anything to be built, to approve the creation of the lot with certain dimensions. A creation of a lot that already exists on the ground without changing any lot lines or anything. All of these issues that are being brought up about sight lines, about how to build on the lot, about whether it would be beneficial for or detrimental to the neighborhood character, I feel that that is all stuff that is appropriately handled through the zoning procedure, and that we should focus very narrowly on the question of can we issue a special permit in accordance with 5.1.10 and in order to allow the lot, and then let them go before the ZBA to see whether they're allowed to build anything on it. At this point, where the lot already exists, it's a nice, neat, square little lot. On the very narrow question that is before us tonight, I don't see any reason why we could not issue an approval on this now and let the zoning board do what is really their core competence.
Well, that's why I came.
This is not, just to be clear, so everybody is perfectly clear, this is not an opinion on the merits of his zoning board application or on the merits of putting a single-family home on this lot. It is very specifically not intended to express an opinion on that matter. It's a statement that the consideration of that matter isn't really what this very narrow application before us is about, and so we shouldn't really put too much effort into the consideration of that. That's the ZBA's.
I think you're right. I mean, I think the request is to vary the width requirement under that new section to allow us to go forward. And this lot's been there since 1915, so there's no way I could meet it anyway. So if it doesn't go, I think you're right. It's the Board of Appeals, the matter that will make the final decision, because we do need the variances. So. But I'll do whatever this board wants me to do.
Sir, you had a comment? Yes, I wanted to correct Mr. Flood. Well, just cut the microphone, okay? Well, you're Mr. Guthrie, right? So you're the one who went in before what we're talking about, which had, when you got your sufficient frontage approved from 110 Burnside and 105 Sale Street, right?
That's correct.
Okay. We have a copy of that decision in front of us.
Those lots, they both had deeds, and I paid taxes on both those lots for over 35 years.
Well,
they weren't split.
No, but I mean...
And he's trying to say that it's the same thing. It's not the same thing. This lot has a structure on it.
We know.
A garage on it. Across the street from 110 Burnside, there's a lot there with the garage. Are you saying that they can tear that garage down?
Yep.
And build a home there?
Yep.
Is that what you're saying? That they can?
On this lot here, the proposal would be to rip down that garage. I'm not talking about across the street. What he's talking about what's in front of us. Because I can go all the way up and down Burnside and Sale Street and give you comments on every lot, but we're not going to do that. So we just vote on what's in front of us.
Okay.
But what happens is, they have a garage now.
Yep.
That's on both lots.
That's correct.
What they're proposing to do is rip the garage down.
I understand that.
So they would have, same as what you had, 50 feet by 100 feet for 5,000 on both
But if
lots.
that garage was on that property for 50 years, wouldn't that make that one property from Sales to Burnside?
No. No. People have built things in the city of Lowell that are unconforming for over 100 years.
Okay.
The developer built it, and if they owned it all together, she could have left the backyard there. I mean, so the question is, the only relief they're asking from us is whether they should have 56-foot of frontage or 50. All the rest would be the same requirement, the same due process, the same procedure that you were afforded to go before the zoning board of appeals.
Okay, but I had to prove that there was no site problem, and I did that.
That's for the Board of Appeals, because you didn't come before us,
Okay.
right?
Okay, yep,
You
that's
never
correct.
came before us because
No,
at the
before the
time.
zoning board, that's correct.
Because at the time, this new zoning was not
That's what this
in
is
effect.
about. This is about safety.
Oh, yeah, I know.
If this lot was anywhere else, I wouldn't be standing here.
Oh, I understand. I
This
mean,
is
I know the
about-
slope there. I mean, when I parked in front of it yesterday, I had my
This is a-
emergency brake on.
Sure, this is a severe
The slope's like this.
decline, that's correct.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's, the topography of the land is one of the main things the zoning board of appeal has to look at.
Okay.
And that's one of the things they can play with. But I understand the slope, and I understand the gentleman to the right. And
You
when I look at it, I
understand
had the chain link fence right there, the plastic fence right there. I parked right there, went around this site 3 times, I think, on Sales Street down to the right, there's somebody even building a new house, right?
Was everybody on the board, has everybody seen this area? I mean, have you all been to this area?
We don't have to
All
answer
been?
that, but I
All
can
been,
tell you.
okay.
3 of us already said we were there. I was there yesterday afternoon at 2:30.
All right, okay.
And I was down visiting the project down at Marginal, which was just down the street for the dormitory, and
Okay.
the other 3 that was before us, yeah.
All right, thank you.
You know, I mean, our concern is, what they're doing is they're comparing that it was done on another site, we're asking for relief from us, so they could just go to the zoning board of appeals. Because up until a year ago, they wouldn't have had to come in front of us. But now with the new zoning thing, they're missing that, the whole width of the lot has to be so much on the frontage, a percentage-wise. And we can give relief up to a certain amount, where before, they never came before.
I couldn't even get to the board.
Excuse me?
I couldn't get to the board before because the building department wouldn't entertain any of this from me. That, they had their rules.
Yeah.
I had a plot plan, they
Yeah.
refused it.
Right.
Said, unless you have 25 side, don't even
Yeah,
bother coming
right,
in, so.
because it doesn't meet the criteria, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because on the house, then would come before us, we'd have to look at the frontage, the rear yard, side yard, and all the other requirements like we did on the project ahead of you earlier tonight. We have to look at all that for the site plan. Well, see, this doesn't meet a site plan requirement for us. What would happen then if they go to build it, if they give them the variance, then the building inspectional services will have to go up there and make sure it meets all the requirements before they give it an occupancy permit.
Which includes safety.
Yeah, right,
Thank you very much.
right. So, I mean, we have a limited purview compared to the same purview where yours was so much more in detail when you go before the zoning board of appeals, right? Yeah. Hopefully that answers a little bit, but, yeah, we know what a site is, but yeah, it is steep right there, there's no doubt about it, no doubt about it. Any of the board members have any follow-up? Mr. Fischett?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and I think Mr. Boyle brings up an interesting point, and that's, I'll be honest with you, that's kind of I thought a little bit of the dilemma that I find us in my opinion, is because, as we mentioned, the prior project did not have to come before us, but part of the criteria for issuing a special permit, and it's listed within the zoning ordinance, is one of them is neighborhood character. And how do we establish neighborhood character without having any idea of what the structure is going to look like? Unfortunately, you have 2 boards that you've got to deal with in this issue, and I think that makes it a very difficult situation for the applicant. And I just, given that as part of our criteria, I think it's difficult to overlook that or dismiss that and say that we have a narrower view, because that's part of the criteria of a special permit. So, I don't disagree with what you're saying to a point. However, I don't want it to seem like, we're not taking into consideration the criteria for the special permit. So,
If you'd like an elevation of the building, we'd be glad to get it for you. That's,
that's my comment.
I know what you're saying, but, a year ago, this wouldn't have come up. And I
No,
don't
and
think the intention of that zoning ordinance had anything to do to apply to something like this. So, I'll be glad to give you whatever you want. She's 85 years old, she wants to,
Yeah, no, I can
do
appreciate that.
something and,
Yep, no, and
retire,
I
so.
can appreciate that, yep. No, but I also appreciate the concern that everybody has within the neighborhood, and I think we have a responsibility that I don't see us in a position to just pass it on based on what our criteria is at this point. So unless, Swati, do you have any comment to that?
I
Unless
understand.
I'm seeing this incorrectly.
No, I understand both points, and I also understand your statement. So what I was thinking was, we definitely know that they need to go to the zoning board. If you proceed to take a decision today, you can actually condition the special permit that, they will definitely need elevation and plans for their ZBA review. that that plan be, be submitted to you, we have, so that it's also presented under other business that you also approve it.
So the plan approved by the zoning board of appeals would have to come back here for our approval?
Yes.
Be a condition. And that would have, any condition you make would have to be incorporated in their decision.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Flood, have they given any thought, I'm sure, I know it's premature to ask about building a house, but with the slope of the land, I mean, we all know it's a slope there, so they have to be able to dig into that, obviously.
Yeah,
The builders have to take some
that'll
serious
be addressed. All of these safety issues will be addressed at the Board of Appeals, and I'm telling you, they go into that now. We had a very similar situation where one of the members asked for a lot of things, and we provided them, and we satisfied them. But they're asking for those issues. They're not rubber stamping anything there, so.
You have a date for the Board of Appeals
I
already?
know, I haven't filed anything. I can't until
Oh, okay. I didn't
I
know if
get
you
through
could-
here.
I didn't know if you could,
No.
get on the agenda without this approval.
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
can't.
I mean,
I
I know
can't.
like the zoning, I mean, for the zone change you can, and I don't know if this prohibited you from at least filing a
I
requirement.
was all ready to file with the Board of Appeals when
Oh,
I went in
I got
the
you.
office, and they told me I had to come here first,
Okay.
so.
Any further discussion, or?
Mr. Chairman?
Sure, Mr. Boyle?
We do have a responsibility under the zoning to take into account character of the neighborhood. But I would reiterate that the application before us is not to approve the construction of a building. The application before us is to approve the creation of a lot. And so in terms of the question of neighborhood character, the question in my mind is, does this lot, 50 feet of frontage and 100 feet of depth, is the lot consistent with the character of the other lots in the neighborhood? And the question about is the house, which will be proposed to be constructed on this lot, is that consistent with the character of the neighborhood? Is going to be a different application than the one that is before us. I don't think that what's before us requires us to consider a building. This is a question about a lot. We don't have elevations when there's an A&R brought in before us because the question, because the question is about creating a lot, and we just look at the lot. I'm probably suspect I'm in the minority here, but I think that we should render a judgment about a lot and not a building. Attorney Flood, would this project require you to file an A&R?
A what?
Would this project require you to file an A&R?
Those lots have been in existence. since way back.
Aren't they merged?
They're merged, yeah. But we'd ask a variance for that.
But how do you unring that bell?
Well,
They're merged.
They're merged.
But for
They're-
the
they're
sake
two-
of zoning,
they're
you're
two-
meeting the,
No, if you look, Bob, there's two separate tax bills for two separate lots.
but the zoning code doesn't mention tax bills.
Well,
It
but they-
mentions the fact that if you have substandard lot and you merge and you have an
I know what-
adjacent common ownership, another lot, now you conform to zoning by merging the two.
I understand
How
that,
do you unmerge them?
the same way they did it next door.
I don't care about next door.
That-
I want an answer. I want legal opinion from somebody, the solicitor, saying that you can unring the bell.
You can petition the Board of Appeals for the requested variances to do this. And you have certain things you have to show the Board of Appeals. And if they find that they're there, they can issue it. I mean, that's how it's all
The
done in the
Board of
city.
Appeals is subdividing.
Yeah.
And
To make-
where's their authority?
Well, there are two lots right now. And legally, you're saying they're merged, which you're probably right. But there are ways to do it, and we'd like to have that opportunity.
I have no objection to the 50-foot width.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. It's consistent with the neighborhood. I still, I don't understand how you can unmerge
Well,
for the convenience of somebody.
For zoning purposes, it's merged. But she owns it in two separate deeds, two separate tax bills, and I think the zoning board of appeals can unmerge it by variances. That's all I'm asking
Well,
for an
let
opportunity
the
to do that.
city solicitor tell me that. Then I will vote on this.
Suarez, do you have a comment for us from staff?
Yes, Mr. Malvich, I understand your confusion. So when it was merged, if they had proceeded to file an A&R which took away one of the addresses, creating it as one single parcel and one single, parcel being taxed, in that event, ZBA can't do this. So what happened was it was merged, but an A&R to convert the two lots into a single parcel was never done.
Filed.
So for legal purposes, it still exists as two lots. But only for the zoning compliance, it was, it was merged. So technically, the engineering department hasn't taken away the second address. And they will not do that until an applicant requests an A&R.
Okay.
So technically, ZBA is doing what they have rights over. They are not overstepping the planning board's authority in any way.
Okay,
Had
you have
this-
two certified lots.
Two lots, two separate addresses, I can show that, so.
Okay.
I'm just asking to go to the Board of Appeals, but I'll.
Forget I said anything.
Huh?
Just forget I said anything.
Any further discussion? If not, what's the recommendation of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the special permit, subject to final review and approval by the planning board of the, any and all approvals that may be issued by the zoning board of appeals.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor,
I'll second the motion.
second by Mr. Lockhart. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, chair votes yes. Any opposition? Hearing none, the motion carries. So now the matter will go to the zoning board of appeals.
Right.
If the zoning board of appeals approves it, then it comes back here also.
Yep.
So now you have to go before the zoning board of appeals, then come back here again. So that'll be advertised for the public
Right.
hearing for the zoning board of appeals, which meets the alternate Mondays that we meet. We're the first and third, so they're the second and fourth.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna have to revise the plan a little to conform with this and then get in there. Won't be that quickly.
All right.
But thank you very much.
Good luck and thank you. So now it goes to the zoning board of appeals, and if they approve, it comes back to us. Okay, good luck. Thank you for your concerns. I appreciate it. Do you want your list back, sir, with the addresses?
Mr. Fred.
Okay, because that way you can show that to the zoning board of appeals, okay? All right. Thank you very much for your comment. Appreciate it. Good to see Mr. Nyman. Good, thank you. Okay, moving along, on the agenda,
That's right, the next section is on,
That's right.
and it can't be.
Why put it in there if it doesn't mean anything? I want a legal opinion.
do we have any further comments from any of the board members have been on any of their committees?
I don't have any.
No? Hearing none? Okay. So, do we have any comments from staff? Anything coming up to be concerned about?
No, I just wanted to share the news that our new senior planner is just starting tomorrow.
Oh, good luck.
She was like the planning board planner for North Andover. So we are very excited. So hopefully she will be with me or Joe at the next meeting.
Okay.
So we would like everyone to give her a warm welcome. But otherwise, we have a few filings. We are proceeding strong. I think this year it's going to be busier than last year. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that.
No problem, thank you. Any other board members have any comments?
Mr. Chairman, there is something that that's been bothering me. It was the process by which we approved the Ayers City Urban Renewal Plan. I expressed at that time my thoughts about this power that's being granted, the power to condemn land. And I believe I stated that this is the power that was used to destroy Little Canada. And I feel that the exercise of such power should require more of a process than what we did that night. Now, in this particular case, the city industrial plan was a clear no-brainer. That was, I've never seen a location that better fit the criteria for a blighted area, or what we call in Massachusetts a decadent area. And so I'm very confident that what we did was right. But going forward, I don't want any more Little Canada projects. I think it would be wise for us to think about developing some rules, the way we have rules for subdivisions, to make to compel this board and future boards to operate through with a lengthier process and in a more deliberate manner, and to provide for greater opportunity for dissenters and affected parties to have input before we make our decision. And so I'm not exactly sure about next steps, about processes for how we should do this. But it has been nagging at me that in the bad old days, the urban renewal plans that destroyed the West End in Boston, that destroyed Little Canada, that created the nightmare of Pruitt-Igoe and Cabrini Green, they all went through with planning boards that operated as a rubber stamp. And it's happened right here in Lowell in the past, and I'd like to make sure it doesn't happen again. State law singles out planning boards to be a check on that process, to slow things down and to make sure that there's a second independent set of eyes from the city council that is approving these things. And I would like to put some process in place to make sure that we are being that independent check, that second set of eyes, and not simply sitting at a meeting and voting aye because we're told to. That's the way it used to work in the bad old days, and I want to make sure that it's not what will happen in the future.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask a question? So, Joe, what do you envision, something added to the zoning ordinance relative to I guess, how do you envision something, a new chapter, a section added to the zoning ordinance?
I don't think the zoning really applies, but I think it would be the adoption of a set of rules, the way that we've adopted rules for subdivision approvals.
Okay.
It's a document that the board produces to tell it and to tell future boards to look at these things and follow this process.
And I just have a question, I know, and I apologize for even asking you a question, Rich, because I know you have a hard time speaking tonight, but I know you were on the committee that worked on that, and I'm just curious, I think that was a lengthy process that went through at that end as far as, I'm just trying to get an idea of what your thoughts are on what the role of the planning board would be within that process. Or would you go through an entire 2-year process with a committee and then come to the planning board and then have that all, redone and going back? You
No,
know,
I
how-
would-
Would the planning board be brought in earlier
Oh,
in the
yeah,
process?
Should be brought in.
I guess that's my question. And I could envision that. That's probably, you'd want to see the planning board then earlier on involved in the process.
I'm not really thinking of the planning board as replicating any of that work. I'm thinking more of a process in terms of our meeting, in which we make sure that, for instance, all affected parties are notified and brought here for a public hearing, invited here for a public hearing, so that we hear the other side, and when we approve a plan, we are doing it with our eyes open, hearing all of the arguments on all of the sides, and making a decision.
Again, I'm going to ask the question, so what are you envisioning, I guess, is
A set of rules.
Because I understand that there was
Lay-
some controversy with this plan and relative to the VFW, or the American Legion, VFW site, and I know the city council put the brakes on it so they could revisit it and take a look at it and address the issue. So I know that. But, so I'm just curious as to, again, what would,
A set of procedures for what what should happen at the meeting at which we issue our decision. That there should be no, some examples of what could be done would be making sure all property owners in the district are notified about that meeting and invited. Making sure that any citizens groups, which are, whether it's a neighborhood group that was pre-existing, or whether it's just the group of people in the area who organized because they're worried about the plan, make sure that they're brought into the room and that we hear from them. Making sure we hear from the other side before we make a decision is really the, I think is really the minimum that we should shoot for. Making sure that we, the planning board, not the body that was tasked with doing the planning study and producing the plan, but that we, on the board, before we make our findings.
well, just to refresh my memory, was that a public hearing or was that a presentation that Greg did before us?
I think he had first presented to you, but I think the last one was more like the board accepting the plan.
Okay, yeah.
And I am aware that all the property owners within the district were notified.
Okay.
That was something he did, because we did, he had created a specific notice just for that, which is not the usual notices we actually ask the applicants to send out. And there was also a Tanner Street group initiative. I don't think it was a neighborhood group, but it was more like some of the business owners who are property owners. Craig has been working very closely with them, and every time we had any other filing, for example, 97 Tanner Street, we have a ZBA hearing, and, we always work with them in view of what the study is going on about. So we try to understand if that proposal is going to support or is going to conflict, so that we look at that in long terms before any of the board, takes a decision on it. So.
Yeah, I understood this to be a process and that there was a lot of outreach, but I understand from what Joe is saying that from our perspective, there's no formalization of that. But I know in this particular plan, my understanding is that there's a tremendous amount of outreach that was done in that area. And then, but I don't know if the answer to that is to create the need for a public hearing for the planning board to approve the plan. Therefore, you would have the notifications under the public hearing requirement. But it's something we can look at. But in this particular plan, there was a lot of work, and I know
Yes.
a lot of outreach.
Just so it's perfectly clear, I'm not talking here about the process by which the plan was drawn up.
Yeah, I just want to
the
make it clear,
process.
because
I'm
if somebody's just...
very pleased with that,
Yeah, if
with the
somebody
process by which it was drawn up.
was just tuning in, which I don't know if that's, would be the case, but if somebody was just tuning in, I just don't want the impression that we're, because I didn't get the impression that there wasn't enough outreach done on this particular plan. I think there was an awful lot of outreach done, so I understand what you're saying going forward, but I think
Yes,
that's...
yes,
I
yes.
just want to make sure we're clear on
Right,
both
I'm
of those
talking
things.
about procedures for how what we do in our meeting.
Yeah.
I have no criticism whatsoever about the procedures by which the urban renewal plan itself was produced. I'm talking about how we run our meeting, and what we want to happen at our meeting.
So you're talking about like having a checklist that you will go through when such a plan is presented, right?
Yes, a checklist yes.
Okay. Okay, so just like how you get to review a special permit or a, subdivision or a site plan review, we have these things identified that, is the proposal meeting all these criterias?
That's right.
So something similar to, in that way. Okay, I get it.
Because I know at least on this project, Rich stepped up to the plate, and he went to a lot of the meetings that we had, as a planning board person there, looking out for our concerns and reporting back to us. And from time to time, when we brought up old business at the end of meetings, Rich gave us an update, which was very helpful. So we did have planning board member attend these meetings and bring back reports to us, which was very favorable to us when it came in. And I know when Craig, you do a presentation like this, same as the master plan or the Hamilton Canal thing, it's all subject to change. It's a conceptual plan. Even, all the plans that come before us, like the master plan. It says it's to use as a guide. If you read the master plan, one part says you gotta stay, it can be conflicting sometimes depending on, we have people come in front of us who argue well, it says we gotta keep, residential here, but meanwhile, we gotta keep the industrial zone going. So when you have which way do you go? So it's more of a guide. One of the projects came in before was an industrial, and they want to put something else in that area, and nobody else wanted it. But I think by having a representation by a board member who stepped to the plate to go to these meetings and report back to us, I think before we got to the presentation, and as board members, we have right to go to any public meeting we want and speak, as an individual citizen. So therefore, I think we had more knowledge of what was going on. Rich would fill us in, and so it gave us a little bit of a checks and balances. And as Craig said, this conceptual plan. And I think most people aren't going to come and really speak out about it until it affects their individual lot.
That's right.
Especially if they've been to these meetings already on the Tanner Street one. They're going to go down and say, these are my concerns, and these guys are going to hash them out back and forth. And then when it comes to us, they're like, well, if they meet our concerns, a lot of people aren't going to come out and tell your butter or your neighborhood or someone's going to take your property, So it's hard to actually, big set like that, how do you, and if, if you advertise it and people don't show up, I don't know what more requirements we can do, but it's, but Rich would tell us when the dates and times of the meetings were, if we want to go and watch, and we let Rich give us the feedback. So, but I can understand what you're saying, but I think, there's only so much we can do until project, something comes in front of us on a conceptual level. But at least that we had planning board members present at the meetings, gives us some satisfaction that we're getting feedback as the thing projected. So when things like this come in the future, by attending meetings or whichever, I've gone to some neighborhood meetings, not just in my neighborhood, but any other part of the city, just to get conceptual ideas from what's going on,
Be involved.
Yeah, you get involved one way or another. Especially from,
You gotta be.
From board members sitting on different parts, like a Jerry being on another board, you pick up a lot of this overflow. NEMCOG and, on the historic board that Rich feeds us in on, and now he's on the Tanner Street one. So at least we do have board members on the other areas keeping their eyes open and reporting back to us the concerns that, and then some of it does show up in front of us. A lot of stuff in NEMCOG comes back before us, where that helps. Being a former member of NEMCOG and being a former member on the historic board, it was nice to see these other things and bring them back. So, how do we change that in the future? I don't know exactly.
I don't think I would change, I don't think I would change any part of the process up until that planning board meeting began. I think it was a very good process. I think it created a very good product. I think it was appropriately inclusive. I think that the selection, an industrial district urban renewal plan, without a single residential property in it, by its very nature, eliminates a lot of the potential worries that are in the back of my head. It's really just that meeting, that action we took. It was just too easy for us. These are the powers that destroyed Little Canada, and I think we should keep that in the back of our head, back of our minds. It was just, what we did at that meeting, the way that meeting went, it was just so easy, and I don't think it should be that easy.
Well, I mean, that's what happens in a public hearing. It can be easy or be contentious. I mean, I don't know. All depends on who shows up, what the concerns are.
Yeah, part of it being that easy was, because of the nature, nobody of this plan, no one was gonna show up and, with a heart-rending sob story. Like I said, this particular plan, its approval for us was a no-brainer. In the future, when some more sensitive one comes in, maybe that's in somebody's neighborhood, I'd hope that it wouldn't just be so quick, so easy, and so predetermined.
But, so therefore in the future, if we get notified of the meetings, if we want to send a staff member to go look, a board member like we did this time for Rich, or appoint somebody to go, we'll make a motion to appoint you. That might help solve some of it.
That sounds fair.
That's how, right, Bob? Is that how these, usually we vote those in when you're not at a meeting. That's how most of us get picked, and at one point or another. We look around, who's on the vacant board? He's not here tonight, you got it, but, yeah, so.
But I liked the idea of a checklist. Maybe just
Notification or something? That's a big part.
notification and making sure there's, making sure that everybody has a chance to speak is one thing.
Yeah, and whether they decide to come or not, that's difficult. Like I say, not when it's a whole big neighborhood, it's hard to get people to come out. It really is, I praise a lot of people coming out when it is their neighborhood, but if not, a whole big thing in general, being conceptual, and, a lot of them, might have had a lot of their answered at all these project plans that they've already been to, so I don't know. Rich, there's a lot of questions and answers to some of these questions, right, that you went to?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of input. Yeah.
A lot of dialogue.
Yeah, so maybe they're satisfied with some of that, but, so.
But another approach might be to look back at history, look back at what went wrong when urban renewal plans went wrong, and make sure there is, right now, we're only making these two findings, the two findings called for under the law.
Yeah, those required by us, yeah.
Yep. Maybe we could look at making more findings, look at what was bad about bad urban renewal plans, and make sure that we check each of those off, make sure we're not doing those.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any follow-ups? If not, we entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Here we are, adjourned. Good night, thank you, everyone.